In a lot of ways, I think this pandemic has created the space for students to take a little bit more ownership over their learning journey because they've had a little bit more autonomy to be able to do that. And again, when I hear about kids and the things that they're doing and the places they're going, I am encouraged every day. We're going to be just fine.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Leading Through Unprecedented Times. I'm Tom Murray, your host, and I could not be more excited to introduce Dr. Michael McCormick from Verde Unified in California. You are in for a treat. The work they are doing out there is absolutely incredible throughout the pandemic as well, and Mike is a good friend. So I'm going to go over to you, my friend. How are you doing? How are things going? Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, thanks for having me on the show today. And, I'd be crazy and I'd be a huge liar if I said things were going great. Here's the thing. We're kind of in the throes of Omicron right now in California. This morning, today, 430 people out across the district, 175 teachers. And, this is kind of like all hands on deck. We're trying to keep the doors open and the lights on. It kind of reminds me of that Motel 6 commercial. We'll keep the lights on for you. I know that's a throwback. Some people might be too young to get that, but that's what we're doing, is to try and keep everything rolling forward.
Absolutely. And thank you for keeping it real. We keep it here real on the podcast. We are not trying to sugarcoat things. We try and share it like it is. And I appreciate you starting with the realities of your day here today. Talk to us, if you would, for a moment about the demographics, the size of the district, where you're located, just so people that may not know are filled in.
Yeah, right on. So Verde Unified, we are in Southern California. We're about 70 miles east of Los Angeles and probably about the same distance north of San Diego. So the area that we serve in is called the Inland Empire. So we're a little way from the coast. Just under 20,000 students, very diverse population of scholars. We're 75% Hispanic, about 15 to 16% African American, probably around 4 or 5% Caucasian. 85% of our students participate in this National School Lunch Program. About a quarter of our students are learning English as a second language. And so that's kind of Val Verde in a nutshell.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say, my friend, I've known you for a long while, and every time I hear you talk about your district and your people, you get fired up, you get excited. And I also have to share, I talk about your district all over the country and the innovative things that are happening. Excited to dive into that in just a little bit. But the theme for this season of the podcast is really around educator resilience. We launched Leading Through Unprecedented Times at the very beginning of the pandemic, about 2 weeks in, to give people hope. And now we're talking about this notion of resilience, because here we are literally, 2 years in, and it's a challenge. It's really, really hard each and every day. So talk to us a little bit about educator resilience, maybe a story of hope, something that you're proud of in your district where you see resilience having been the key.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the everyday thing. And, sometimes educators, we get bashed, popular media. I think people are starting to find the importance of what we do. It may be one of the silver linings of the pandemic, but, we've got teachers and support staff that are stepping up to the plate and doing amazing things every day. And what I'm reminded of most about this pandemic is that, we did the distance learning thing, and we were one of the fortunate ones. We've been one-to-one with laptops for all of our kids since 2017. We've built an amazing infrastructure using the Future Ready framework to guide so much of the work that we've done over the years. And so I would say we were very well positioned to transition into distance learning, and our teachers had the training. We had the software tools to make that happen. We had the budget beforehand, so we weren't scrambling trying to get devices at the last minute. But what I would say that we've learned is there's nothing that replaces the face-to-face interaction, that in-person social dynamic. And so what we've learned is that, look, the adults in our education and our organization, they need support. Our students need support. Our students have, not had that social contact that I think we all crave as human beings, right? This is the kind of stuff that unites us. And so the heroics in this are our educators and our support staff's commitment to keeping the doors open and showing up every day with their best self. And what I like to say is we're leading with love, grace, and empathy. And by the way, that love, grace, and empathy is for the adults in the system as well as the students in the system. And it kind of reminds me, and I'll just conclude with this little piece, your book, Tom, Personal and Authentic. It needs to be personal and authentic for the adults in the system, and it needs to be personal and authentic for the students in the system. And I think it really is based in love. I mean, that's what we're trying to do in Verde. And so when we have people showing up, our students are getting the best of our adults. And I think the adults are seeing the best of what our students are capable of. And it's tremendous. I would put our scholars up against scholars from anywhere on the planet. Because I know our kids can do great things. And so that's kind of a global perspective. I don't have that one, specific story, but that's the impact we're trying to make.
Absolutely. And I see it coming out of your district all of the time. And one of the pieces you mentioned, going one-to-one a number of years ago, so you're well set up, that only comes from a priority of equity and recognizing, trying to level that playing field for each child. But I also know you've been diving into some deeper levels of equity around access and some things in your community recently. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so kind of this started several years ago, but we did the dark fiber across the district, so really made some big investments in our infrastructure around the district. So dark fiber has just been fantastic because we've got these continuous rings that build connections between our schools and out to the broader internet. And so we haven't had any outages because of the way this dark fiber works. Plus, it allows us to control our costs. So the next kind of frontier that we've been thinking about is how do we get, internet into our families and students' homes. And so again, our Board of Education has been fantastic. They've made a significant commitment. Let's get this done because we really think this is around deep access. And so we're just getting started with this project. I know there's districts out there that are ahead. We actually did some pilots over the last 24 months, playing around with different types of technologies. And, in the hardware space, technology moves very quickly. The improvements move very quickly. So what we're talking about being able to do now is towers on our schools, small receiving device in families' homes with, here's the thing, high speed, high quality internet for all of our kids. And I think it's do they call it the last mile? It's that last mile connection, Tom, that we've really been thinking about. Because again, what we know and what I believe in every fiber of my being is that there's talent everywhere, but there's not opportunity everywhere, right? And so if we give our kids the opportunity and the access, they can do great things just like kids anyplace else.
Absolutely. They often say that talent is equally distributed and opportunity is not. And as an equity focused organization at All for Ed and here at Future Ready Schools, hearing the work that you're doing there, making it a priority, kudos to you all and making sure that those students have access. It also gets to this notion of family engagement. When we look at how you're working with it, we see a number of other districts doing similar things around the country, working with the police department, working with the fire department, townships, and those things, getting and saying, hey, these are our families. This is our community. Let's do some of this stuff together. But I also just read an article. AXA, one of our great partners here, respect the work at AXA, great organization there in California, that you just released on family engagement. Can you dive a little bit into that and some of the things you shared?
Yeah, revolutionizing family engagement. And, it really starts with kind of a core philosophy. And for us, that's we value our parents as equal partners. We are passionate about the contributions that our parents bring to the organization. For a long time, old school family engagement was, hey, parents, we need to show up to this meeting, and then we're going to tell you what we're doing, and then, feed you a little bit, and then send you on your way. And so this kind of, I hate to say it's almost like offensive to say that this is revolutionary to think about this, but to value the amazing cultural gifts and mindsets that our parents bring to their children's education. We can learn from that. And in fact, we learn a lot from that. And so to see parents as truly equal partners in the process of educating their students. And so our family engagement folks are just the gold standard. They lead, we like to say, we lead with our ears because we become very good listeners first. Obviously, this is hard work, but this idea of leading with our ears and just being good listeners and understanding and empathetic, and really then taking what parents are telling us about what they want to receive. So we've organized all kinds of different parent education groups, parent empowerment groups, because what we really want to do is equip our parents, empower them so that they can navigate this sometimes unwelcoming system of education and feel comfortable advocating for their own children and frankly, the children of others. And so we've been doing parent empowerment trainings for, probably 8-9 years now. And some of those parents have gone on to do amazing things in the community. We've hired a lot of them to do this work internally with us. So just to highlight one of the specific programs is, a lot of our parents, they've heard about Google, they've heard about, the tools that kids can use. Obviously, all of our students get a laptop. We bring parents in, train them on the tools that their students are using, and at the end of the series, they get a free computer to take home to the house. And so these are the kinds of things that we're able to do that maybe they aren't unique to Verde, but this is a way that we're empowering our families. And some of the offerings for courses, it's everything of, how to deal with that teenager who you used to know that's still your son or daughter, healthy cooking choices, just a whole span of amazing offerings. So that's one of the things we're really proud of. Thanks for letting me talk on that, Tom.
Oh, absolutely. And your passion, you can see it in your face. Your passion in that area absolutely radiates, but it's our community's kids. And one of the things that I want to really dive into for a few minutes here, one of the things that we highlighted on a Future Ready webinar, probably about a year or so ago, relates to your pathways. And I have been absolutely amazed watching this program grow show, watching the opportunities you're offering students, and it's so many different pathways. I'm excited to get an update. I haven't heard, we haven't talked about this in a little while. So talk to us a little bit about where you started with this pathway program that you have, kind of the goal of where you're going, what you have in place, the opportunities for kids. And I know that I've sent a whole bunch of superintendents your way saying, you've got to check out what's going on here in Southern California. So for our listeners, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, the story starts about, oh my goodness, 20 years ago. We started with two programs. One of them was called Teen Vision, and the other one was called Verde Graphics. And back in these days, we had kind of a really larger-than-life superintendent who said he was a huge football fan, and he's like, I want every one of our football games filmed. And so that was his direction. And so some teachers got together and some students, and we, created this little Teen Vision film production program. Well, fast forward 20 years later, our students are entering films into student film festivals, winning global competitions. We're still filming all the football games and basketball games and band competitions and, all the visual and performing arts stuff. But that thing has grown to where we have a full-fledged film studio that I think a lot of professionals would be jealous of. And we've got some amazing students. And gosh, the last student film we did right prior to shutdown, the student director of that film said to me one day, he goes, I was headed towards suicide, Mr. McCormick. And being the director of this film gave my life purpose. And I have found my passion. This is what I want to do. And that's why we do what we do, Tom, right? That's it. The other side of this initial program was, if you've been in a school district, you got to get PE uniforms printed and spirit packs for all your athletic programs. And maybe you want to do trophies or medallions to recognize. We do all that in-house. So we've got a massive screen printing and embroidery operation. These are run by students. All the designs come from students. And as a matter of fact, a few years ago, we had an autistic young man who was pretty much nonverbal. But this young man could create designs based on some hand-sketched ideas and get on the computer and turn those into some of the most amazing logos and graphics you've ever seen. And again, this was a young man. This was his creative outlet. And, it got to the point before he became an adult and moved on that, people were saying, hey, make sure this young man sees my sketches because I know he produces next level stuff. So those are our two core programs. And by the way, prior to the shutdown and the effect of COVID and all that Verde Graphics program was doing about $1.3 million a year in production for other school districts, other nonprofits, and just totally word of mouth. We do no advertising, but the kids do great work and produce a great, amazing product. So fast forward, we're up to about 40 pathways now, all of our districts, all of our high schools in the district. And each of them has some consistent pathways. So we've got logistics because we've got several Amazon fulfillment centers within the boundaries of the district. So we're always looking at those labor market statistics, lots of distribution centers. But one of the things we're super excited about is not preparing kids for entry-level warehouse jobs, but preparing kids to be the technical side and repair the equipment that's located inside those warehouses. So mechatronics is a big thing for us. Our kids are learning basic manufacturing, electrical, pneumatics. That's the kind of stuff that a lot of kids are interested in. We've also recently done cybersecurity as a pathway. Get this, drones as a pathway, and teaching kids how to become certified drone pilots. That's a big deal all over the place. Think about the applications for real estate, movie making, and all the other land surveying type activities that go on with overhead video. So, and then the one that I'll finish with, just because it's kind of unique, is we've got a 980 vine vineyard at one of our high schools. And we've partnered with a local winery down in Temecula. And this has been an amazing, you think about the plant and soil science, the physics, the chemistry, the biology, all of these coming together. Our kids have worked on designing the label for the finished product. They're learning so much science, and they're excited about this. And I don't know if you've realized this, Tom, but the winemaking industry, that's a multi-billion-dollar industry with lots of jobs available. And so, those are some of the more interesting things, but what we've tried to do, and I'll just finish up here, is use engineering design principles as a core foundation. That's a thread that runs through all those 40 career pathways. And this is about getting kids using their hands and being plugged in to some kind of major projects that allow entry points for multiple students to get involved.
Oh, I love listening to you talk about that. I get excited as I hear about the opportunities that you are offering all students, not making them make a decision by the time they're in 7th or 8th grade, and that's what they're stuck with for life, but just the opportunities to say, hey, here's something I want to explore. Here's an area that I might want to go into, and you continue to evolve it. I love the story I've heard you tell about you brought in all business owners throughout your community and said, hey, we've got your 20,000 next employees. What do you need? And really started there. And I love hearing you talk about that. Mike, we're almost out of time, my friends. Here's the thing. You are somebody that I look to for inspiration, for hope. You're always smiling, always upbeat and encouraging. What is something in the midst of the chaos of our world right now that gives you hope?
We're going to be okay. What I've often said is COVID has been an exercise in the 4 C's for adults. And I don't know if we've been great role models for our kids, but our kids are amazing. I was running student advisory groups. I've been doing that all along. And when I hear directly from the kids about how they're thinking around their futures and what they want to do and the goals they want to accomplish and the big problems that they want to solve to make the world a better place, I have no worries whatsoever about getting older. I would tell the kids, you know what? I'll be wheeling around in a wheelchair somewhere and I'll have not a single worry, because there's amazing kids everywhere across this nation that are just preparing for their opportunity to lead. And, in a lot of ways, I think this pandemic has created the space for students to take a little bit more ownership over their learning journey, because they've had a little bit more autonomy to be able to do that. And again, when I hear about kids and the things that they're doing and the places they're going, I am encouraged every day. We're going to be just fine as we move into the future.
Oh, amen to that. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Real quick, where can people follow you or connect with you to follow your work?
Yeah, great. So at Verde Soup is the one on Twitter, also on Instagram at Verde Soup. And Tom, thanks so much for having me today. It's always great to see a good friend from across the country. Hey, we're in sunny Southern California here. It's going to be in the 60s today. I might have to put a windbreaker on.
Well, that's not the way I wanted to end, because it is cold here in February. Anyway, my friend, what an honor it is to see you. That is Mike McCormick, everybody. Mike, thanks for joining us.